Welcome back to Inside the Lines. Happy Thursday. Lots and lots to go over today. But before we get to that, we have the return of Johnny B. John Bowman, how are you doing today? You look sun-kissed. You look like you've rejuvenated. How have you been the past few days?
Yeah, great to be back, Mackenzie. Had some time with the family, some time off after baseball season, but we're ready to give out our first NHL picks of the season.
I know. Big stuff today. I know some people in the chat have been worried about NHL. We're going to give it out. We are getting to that time of year. So we're going to start it off strong with a money line play here. Vancouver going to the Golden Knights here.
Yeah, so I haven't totally been watching NHL, watching all the games as usual. So I'm going to ease myself in here. We're just going to go with one play today with the Canucks on the money line. I believe it's minus 114 on FanDuel against the Golden Knights. So we actually have enough value on this in our database for an A play. We have about 10% value. We have the Canucks winning 61% of the time when the odds imply about 52% of the time. The Canucks they've been struggling a bit lately. They've only won 3 of their last 6 games, but the Golden Knights have lost 3 in a row. The Canucks have also been playing very well, lately overall this season. So I really like the Canucks on the money line here. I think they've been scoring a ton, and they should get this win at home.
Mm-hmm. Derek with some nuggets in the chat too. Canucks 9-3 as money line favorites this season. Love to see that. Love the support there. All right. Hope that wasn't too much for you. Just a little warm up back into the rhythm here. We're gonna head into some Thursday night football. Send John to the chat to answer any NHL questions and any other questions we have. Let's bring in Steven and Jake. We got a big Tron graphic today. We got 5 plays. We see 3 right now. We have 5 total. 3 from Steven, 2 from Jake. Lots to go over. Start with Zach Charbonnet rushing yards here.
Yeah, and I'll wait for my compliment on my complexion later. I guess you missed that. I think I got a nice color going on right now. But Zach Charbonnet, over 48.5 rushing yards. So the line makes total sense because the last 2 weeks he's been the workhorse with Kenneth Walker injured. And Walker's pretty much out tonight too. And he's only had 47 yards on 14 and 15 carries, 47 yards back-to-back weeks. He hasn't been breaking the long ones. But before these last 2 weeks, he had an average of 5.6 yards per carry. So in our model, we basically have him projected to have a very similar game as the last 2 weeks, but actually have a better chance of having a long run, which could happen against the Dallas Cowboys, who have been taking big leads and have obviously a tremendous pass rush. So sometimes the benefit of that is, you try to protect the quarterback a little bit by handing it off, and a running back can run for 15 meaningless yards on a 2nd and 20. That's what I'm banking on here. So the last 4 opponents versus Dallas have all had over 100 rushing yards. So if Seattle can get around 100, and given the makeup, DJ Dallas, the backup running back, he rarely gets more than 8 carries. Geno Smith's dealing with an injury, so I think he might want to protect himself, so he may not take off too much either, although maybe he'll take off just to save his life. So I think Charbonnet's in a good spot to get 55% at least of the rushing yards. So again, we're looking for hopefully the team getting 95 as a team. The next one I like is Michael Gallup over 15.5 receiving yards. So Gallup is playing less, getting fewer snaps. Some of the younger players, Jalen Tolbert, and I was getting more snaps, but he's still averaging 31 yards this year. So I see a reduction. The model is projecting a 25% reduction in production going forward. That's still well above the 15.5 line, especially at just a pretty nice minus 109. So he had only 1 reception for 13 yards last game. The Cowboys seem to have this interesting thing going where for good vibes' sake, they're making a considered effort to get guys who didn't have much production one week to have a bigger week the next week. So, it was Brandon Cooks was considered the biggest bust, signing or trade all the offseason. And he had 7 yards a few weeks ago. Then he popped for 173. Jake Ferguson, the tight end, who's had a pretty solid year, but had only 15 yards one week, broke out for 47 the next. Jalen Tolbert was a fairly high draft pick, right, Jake? He went from 12 one week to 49.
Third round, yeah.
So I just think that, the team, I do think that Dallas is going to have this game in hand, and I think they'll be able to spread it around. And, with the top 2 corners for Seattle occupied with, with CeeDee Lamb and Cooks, that maybe it opens up for Gallup. And Gallup, his big playability has been reduced with his injuries, but he's still usually good for a 16-yard catch if he gets one. The last one I like.
We're not asking for too much from him here, but we're talking about the Seahawks playing from behind, which probably could lead to this player prop here that you have.
Yeah, so Geno Smith over half an interception. I think the juice is minus 143. It's only that low because I think there is a concern that with his injury and the pass rusher, maybe he leaves the game early. But the pass yard line for him, the same source that gave me this line, also has over 230 yards passing for his line. So you would think that there's real concern about him not completing the game, that line wouldn't be as high as it is against Dallas. So the model line is right on 1. And, this betting line would equate to around a 0.7, 0.75 interception. He's obviously had 8 interceptions last 9 games. Dallas is a top 5 unit. Some people might think this is the line for Deron Bland getting a pick 6 based on how many he's had this year. So I think if this game goes to form and Seattle is playing from behind, just the number of opportunities where he's got to throw into some tight windows, just try to make big plays, leads it open for an interception. Now, if he leaves early, maybe it leaves on a tip pass and as his arm's getting hit, and that gets intercepted. So that's not that I wish ill for Geno Smith, but obviously
just ill enough.
Yeah, exactly.
For an interception. I see Nick S. We will get to that little teaser here heading into Jake's picks. Nick S. always on the same page as us. But let's start here, Jake, with Brandon Cooks. You like his receiving yards over 38.5.
Yeah, this is an interesting one because you get over 38.5 and minus 110 on FanDuel, but on Caesars it's under 41.5 at minus 111. So there's a big disparity there. But we have him with 51 yards. Like Steven said, they've been using him a little more lately after he was looking like a disappointment. He was looking like a little bit of a free agency bust. But they're using him a lot more. He's been getting open. I don't mind an anytime touchdown. I saw a big cheesy ass that. Plus 180 is a little – I want a little better odds than plus 180, but this could be a good Brandon Cooks game.
Mm-hmm. And then let's go to that backup for Tony Pollard, Rico Dowdle here. You like him over 18.5 rushing yards like Nick S.
Yeah, this line moved down from 19.5 to 18.5 on Caesars at minus 109. I got it yesterday, underdog at 18.5. So I think if you get it, every yard you could get here with his line is good value. We have him at 26 yards. I like this play a lot because I think they're going to want to keep Pollard healthy. If they get a big lead in this game, they're going to go to Rico Dowdle. I could see him getting this and then getting 30 plus. I wouldn't mind an alt line 30 plus here.
Ooh,
as far as that Cooks line, we do have Cooks with 0.42 touchdowns. So that seems like a pretty good value at plus 180.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right, good stuff there. We'll have a recap at the end here for you guys. Let's move on to the NBA here. Please continue to ask your Thursday Night Football questions in the chat. Let's start here with an under that we like. Detroit going to the New York Knicks. You like them under 218.5. Model has them at 211.
Yeah, the model's straight. I mean, there's some range here. I've seen this 217.5 to 218.5. So obviously shop around. The Knicks allowing just 102 per game at home. Detroit struggles offensively. The Knicks also shooting, but the Knicks, on the other hand, also shoot under 50% on twos. And the Pistons actually do a decent job defending the paint with a 52% defensive 2-point percentage on the road. So I like those two factors to keep it lower scoring.
Mm-hmm. Let's
the
move on
next
to
one.
another under.
Yeah, this one I like not so much at 247, but I've seen up to 248.5 just within the last half hour. So I would wait to see if you can get even like a 249. The Spurs have been playing terrible defense, but believe it or not, they've actually been a little bit better at home where they allow 5 less per game, 121. And their defensive 3-point percentage is a spectacularly bad 45% on the road, but it's actually a decent 35% at home. And Atlanta has went through a couple of games where they were just putting up ridiculous point totals, 136, 147, 152. But since that 3-game run, they've only put up 103 and 105, both in road games. Now, they were against good defenses, but Atlanta average totals are 20-point lower on the road than at home. And we got this one a few days ago when Atlanta at Cleveland. We like the under there. So my thinking here is it's the high scoring Atlanta is not as high scoring in the situation. The bad defending San Antonio isn't as bad defending in the situation.
Okay. Let's move to the Lakers going to play Chet Holmgren. OKC 5.5-point favorites at home here. We're seeing a lot of improvement in Chet's shot attempts this season relative to last season, aren't we?
Yeah. So he, our model has him at just under 12 field goal attempts, which is reflective of what he's done this year. But we still have him at 27.7 points, rebounds, and assists. So the fact that we actually have good value, and we're not reflecting his recent run. So out of his last 5 games, he's had 20 or more field goal attempts in 3 of those games. The one game where he came under 27.5, it was a blowout win where he was 6 for 6 from the field and had 22 points, rebounds, and assists in just 20 minutes against Detroit. So he was obviously on pace to blast through this number. So he's had 5+ assists twice in this span. He's played 32 minutes in every game. The Lakers just played last night in Detroit. So, I think that Chet will use his young legs to try to beat guys down the court. And I think OKC in general try to run the Lakers off the court. So I see a lot of points and opportunities for fast break assists. And then, and Chet's always a good 8 to 10 rebound player.
Any value on this game in general? Do we have value on OKC to cover the spread?
I guess they're not listed on the injury report, LeBron and AD, but it is a road back-to-back, so that's always a concern. So right now we don't have any kind of value on the in terms of the main market lines. I could check the model. I think we actually have a slight lean on the Lakers and the over. Oh no, Lakers and the under. So the line steamed heavily from 227.5 to 233.5. So it blasted. We had 232. We got a slight lean against with the Lakers, but again, it's hard to tell on the back-to-back for them on road back-to-back.
Right. Let's move to. I see some questions in the chat. Let's move to Jake's prop real quick before we get to those. Miles Turner over 1.5 blocks seems like a low number relative, and the model has them projected pretty high too, right?
Yeah, I think it's actually minus 145 on ESPN bet, but either way, there's still plenty of value. We have him at 2.25 blocks. If you look at his last 5 games, he has 2 blocks, 5 blocks, 2 blocks, 4 blocks, 3 blocks. He's hit this over in 6 of his last 7 games. It's a good matchup for him. I really like this over, and you can shop around here.
I saw Jason asking about Damian Lillard tonight versus the Bulls, both for his threes and his points. Maybe we can pull up OddsJam and see what that line is there.
Yeah, someone. So
Check the fantasy optimizer.
Someone else can answer the screen. In this one, Lillard, we have over what's line threes and points.
I guess
projected for 26 points. I mean, his points, rebound, assist line, we don't have any value based on the consensus line. So we probably don't have tremendous value. We have him 26 points and just under 7 assists. So
the fantasy optimizer tool on OddsJam actually suggests going under 26.5 points. But there's not a ton of value there. So, I mean, if you have a gut feeling that you like Lillard, I don't mind it.
While we're in the model, go ahead.
No, I know that, Chicago's a tough team. The Levine, DeRozan, Caruso are all, game time decisions, and you never know who's going to be moved or, what the deal is. You never know when they're going to put in an effort or not.
Right. While we're here in the NBA model, let's head over to this question too. Okongwu over 8.5 points and Sadiq Bey over 13.5 points.
I'd probably lean Bey over Okongwu just because he's going to get the shots.
Sadiq Bey he moved recently to Atlanta, right?
Yeah. Wait, you check Detroit?
Yeah, I get imprinted like a baby bird. The first thing I see, it just stays with me. So yeah, like for Dame Lillard, I was looking for at Portland. That's just
So the value would be here. It would be on Bey compared to Okongwu.
We have the slightest value. We have him at 21.9 points, rebounds, and assists, and his line's 21.5 in this feed. So that would indicate we would like him over Okongwu. Okongwu, I
It all
haven't been
depends on
tracking.
those minutes, which
It's because
varies.
it's very inconsistent, right? He's really all over the map.
Yeah.
You know, so it's a tough one to call there.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's move into some college basketball territory here. I saw a question in the chat that we can answer while I bring Jake in. Let's talk one of his plays first, and we'll answer this question in the chat here. You have a player prop here. We've been doing well with these college basketball player prop rebounding props, right?
Yeah, the rebounds. We had Andrew Carr under 8.5. He had 6 in the first half, 0 in the second half. So that was a nice 20 hit yesterday. I mean, Ryan Kalkbrenner, due to 7'1", and he should play 30 minutes in a game that has a close spread. It's just Crane's just my 7.5 in this game. So you assume he'd play 25, 30 minutes. 7'1", he should get at least 5 rebounds. So he's projected for 5.9. I think there's plenty of value here, and there's some good push insurance here at 5.
Mm-hmm. I saw a question in the chat about NC Wilmington versus East Carolina here, if we have any value in the model there.
Let me pull that up. We have.
I think Steven's shaking his head no to me that we really
not
don't.
much value. Yeah, we have ECU winning 73-70. So not much value at all. ECU is a weird team. They're just very inconsistent. I do like their coach, Mark Schmidt.
All right, we'll stick with the questions here. Steven, I'll keep you on your toes with the model. Let's go to Minnesota, New Orleans, if we like the under 150.5.
I am on Dawson Garcia over 16.5 points in the Minnesota New Orleans game. And because the line's so high, I like that. We have it projected for 17.6 points. So we have full point of value there. So if you do have player props, I'd probably suggest going with that. We have slight value here, but
yeah,
I don't love
it.
We
lean under.
We lean under. I don't love it.
Okay. A lot of college basketball questions here. I love to see it. Another one about Hofstra money line.
Yeah, Hofstra's a fun team to watch. They're even more fun when they had Aaron Estrada, but they're still a fun team to watch.
We like Hofstra a lot.
We like Hofstra. We only like 12. I mean, I like that play. South Florida's not that good.
Right.
So I don't mind the play at all. South Florida's an interesting team because their coach came from Kennesaw State and he brought in 2 of their best players from Kennesaw State. So it's going to take a little while for the model to adjust because they have a new coach, new players. But Hofstra, they have a couple of the same players, Tyler Thomas, Darlington Newbar. So I would definitely lean Hofstra here with the continuity similar to like the stability in college football.
Yeah, we have them at 82% to win the game.
Yeah.
Oh, like that. All right, let's do another question here. South Alabama, Jacksonville State, over-under is 127.5. Do you follow Jacksonville State well, Jake?
Well, it's in Jacksonville State in Alabama, not Jacksonville. Not Jacksonville, Florida, should I say.
The more you know.
Yeah. So I follow JU. I used to go to JU games, Jacksonville University games.
Is that what it is?
Ticket, and that's in Jacksonville. And then I go to UNF games because my friend's dad was a donor there, and that's when they made they're pretty good. They made the 2 NCAA tournaments in like 3-year span. So they had a player who's now the coach of my high school. So there's a lot of UNF connections at my high school now. We have 3 baseball players from our high school on UNF's team. So now our whole school is all over UNF.
Does that help Nick S with his bet? Your fascinating backstory, your origin story.
Yeah, come on, we got 20 minutes here.
All right, yeah, we like the over 127.5.
I see the clamoring for an hour-long show, so
not because your connections to UNF.
Nonetheless, lots of value on this here. We have him projected for 141, if I'm reading this correctly.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
We
have a lot of value on the over. We
do better later in the season with totals just because it takes it gives. I like between 5 to 10 games of data. So we're right on the cusp of those 5 games of data for most of these teams. But then Steven goes, your theory on these teams tanking and going for.
So this is an interesting thing where what's the deal with South Alabama's pace? So last year in their home games, they only averaged 130 total points, 70 to 60 an average score. This year, in just 3 games, 172. It's the number of possessions is just skyrocketed. So that's probably why the line set's so low, because but last year South Alabama had a higher scoring pace on the road, game totals. And so it's a combination. Last year, Jacksonville State's home games were very low scoring, 131. But this year, they're up to 146. Last year's South Alabama road games, Alabama games in general were low scoring. But this year, they're up 17 points. So I think that, there's been enough games this year to influence that. And 127.5 is lower than all those numbers.
Yeah.
So
just looking at South Alabama's roster, they have one guy above 6'9". So they're very guard oriented, and so they should shoot a lot more threes. They were a little bigger last year. They had Kevin Samuel, who was an FGCU transfer. So I guess that their best player last year was big, and this year their best players are guards. So they're a little faster pace, more threes.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like worst case this is an average scoring game, which should be close to that 136 range, hopefully.
Yeah.
Tons of public backing on the over on a small sample size. Something fishy about this. Fix is in.
You guys are gonna have to. You guys can dissect South Alabama all you want after this. We are running out of time here. I do want to address Big Cheesy's comment. We are looking to be a bigger presence, so we need your guys' help, likes, comments, engagement. That helps all of us, hoping to eventually be an hour-long show on our network when that time comes. So definitely appreciate your guys' support. Would love to see a lot of it. With that, that's all the time we have for today. Got through a ton of questions. Let's hit that recap really quick. Take your screenshots, do what you got to do, play it back. Let me get rid of Big Cheesy's comment there for you guys to get that college basketball play there. This is feeling good, guys. I'm feeling good about this. Lots of plays today. Tomorrow is the prop party. Get ready. Strap in. Get your notes ready. Pen and paper. It's going to be a big day. So with that said, good luck with your bets tonight. Reach out to us on Twitter with any questions, and we will see you guys tomorrow.